New project, putting this Rusty's Off-Road heavy-duty tire carrier on the back of the 2005 Jeep Wrangler Unlimited, the LJ. So there's the whole brace there. Has the brackets on the end, uses brass bushings instead of the standard ones. And it basically attaches to the back door. And it's kind of mid-process here, but first step was obviously removing the back door, pulling back the wiring, getting that out of the way, and then taking the original brackets right off here. Then these had to get drilled out to a 5/8. Let me show you, where's the step bit going? 5/8 bit, 1 second. So my goal was to use this because I've had this for a while. Goes up to 1 inch. Problem is this was 2 layers of metal, plus there were welded nuts already in place in the back. So the idea is you drill that out using the existing holes as your centering location for the bit, and this was working great for it. The problem was it was putting too much of a angle on the hole, so it wasn't going to poke through. So 20 bucks later, and at Home Depot got a new DeWalt 5/8 bit that I may never use again, but the 4 holes are now drilled out. So as you can see in the back side of the tub here on the top, you can get access real easy from inside here. And the lower holes, you can go in from underneath the rear quarter panel, basically up in there where it's got all kinds of rust and crap. That plastic cover panel just pops down out of there to get you access into there, make sure there's nothing in the way. And so once that's drilled through, you've drilled the nuts off the back end, and then you take your file, deburr the edges. So I'm just finishing cleaning this up now. Then I spent $23 on this, which I'm kind of regretting, only because it's so expensive it's never going to be seen. But this is color match paint. These used to cost like $6 back in the 20 years ago, but so much more expensive now. So anyway, I'm going to clean up these holes, touch them up, and then start getting everything else ready while that dries for a while. I may be wondering what this this tape is on here. When the door was still on, basically you take some tape and you put it horizontally across the back door, and then you cut right down the seam just with a razor blade. So then I've got 3 different points. I did 3, just says to do 2, but just to line up the back door in the right orientation, because there is going to be, these holes are a little oversized to allow for some wiggle room to set this all up and get everything aligned so it closes nice and easily. All right, well that's drying. It's going to take a bit. I'm going to get the next step situated here. So let's see, we've got these 2 Torx bits. They use, I don't know, I didn't have the size written down. Anyway, it's in the instructions. There's 2 bits, 2 Torx bit heads, bolts that go right in here to hold this roll bar bracket into the tub. So you got to remove those, pull those out. Then this bracket here goes in between. It's going to go basically inside there and against the tub. And then these holes, these bolts, are going to go against the brackets. Now, before you do that, take the I think they're 9/16, and make sure this powder coat is clear before you put this in, because these bolts are, like, you see, they're welded in what I would consider backwards. I guess it's just the intention. But yeah, make sure that this paint is clear before you go putting this in, because it could be a little bit tricky. Just grabbed a socket just to get the bolt, get the bolt started in here. And make sure that this goes in smoothly, just to make sure, you see that's a bit tight. Just to make sure it goes in nicely once you're holding up the bracket into position. Holding up the outer hinge into position, trying to get these lined up. So that's going to take care of that. I may actually put some anti-seize. I'm going to do that now. Put some anti-seize in these bolts, nuts I should say, just in case. before I put that in. That way when this goes through, they'll already be ready to go. May as well just go ahead and try this now. Make sure. So I'm going to lift up on the body mount. Whoops. Okay. It's a little tricky. Oh, I can see it. So let me get a screwdriver to try and get the holes to line up. There's one hole. There's the other hole. See the best way to make this easier. Felipe had yeah, it's going to take a little finagling because the roll bar wanted to move over a little bit, but anyway, you get the point. Let me bring you a little closer and show that position. So you see the Rusty's bracket is slotted, and the holes in the roll bar are also slotted, which makes it actually quite easier. So that one's in good alignment enough for me to get the bolt in there, so I'll do that one. Wiggle this a little bit more. Get that one. This stem covers for the seatbelt's a little bit in the way, but get that in there, and then you leave it all loose so that these bolts will line up against that. These nuts, I should say, of the bracket will line up against that when you're ready for that. When you're ready to put these big bolts through. Should go through pretty easily. Those bolts were quite clean in the threads. The 2005, and there's rust on it in some spots, but these things are like new. Pretty surprising. There, fell into position. Let's push that plastic back in a little bit. Nice. Well, that was too easy. Oh, that one went in easier than the other side. Yeah, those are loosely in positioned, and this has plenty of room to meet this. Let me show you that, to align with the bow holes. You see that bracket is lined up, nice big threads sitting right through there. Well, take a little bit of wiggling, but you see there's plenty of room to move in and out. I'll get that nice and neat. By the way, this whole tub's going to get repainted before too long, so this will all be coming off later. I'm not worried about this, but you see this rust I have to deal with down here, a little bit of surface rust behind those brackets. So all of this will be cleaned up and repainted later. So the lower bracket, I can't put that in actually until this paint is dry, but basically this lower bracket's going to go on the inside of the tub like this. And it's going to go up against an inside bracket that will get that third. You see that slotted hole there? So I can't do that until I'm ready to loosely fit this bracket on the outside when that paint is dry. And try and go under here and show you where it goes. And boom, now you see what I'm talking about with doing some paint and rust repair. Whoops. Try and get up inside. Well, basically not going to be able to. It's inside that cavity there. You can see one hole poking through that daylight. Better not stick my finger in it. Anyway, that bracket's got to go up inside there. And yeah, definitely got to do some treatment on all this gear and get it cleaned up. Stop rusting any further. The instructions don't say to have to remove the light, but I realized that when I drilled this hole, all the metal shavings were sitting on this housing right here, and I wiggled this and I heard like crunching noises. I was like, oh crap. So I just pulled that off, cleaned that. It's pretty amazing how this is not rusty at all, but yet down here is going on with all kinds of bubbly rust. There's actually like, this is like got a plastic, I don't know what you call it, like a gasket of some kind, and it's just like some light crap on the paint there. No big deal. Next up, I've got the the actual hinge brackets off the tire carrier. Now in the box I showed you before, these are attached already with the hinges through it. So I just took those off because I'm by myself. So I'm going to be lining this up with the bracket in the back here, and these, the biggest bolts in the bunch basically. There's all the bolts very well organized. They come in these little shrink bags. See, these are the smaller ones. And got basically the big bolt with the washer on it, some NICs in place. I forgot, I said I would do it, and I forgot to put the NICs on the inside of those threads. So let's see how this wants to line up. Had to chase all the threads down from the inside of the nuts because of the powder coat. It wasn't difficult, but you see what I mean? Like, this isn't wanting to go so easily. Try and reposition the bracket a little bit better. That one wants to go right away. Let's see if I got the bracket in a better position now. Yeah, definitely need something to put some pressure on this. I'll just use this. Oh, all right, let me pull it back out and see what's going on, because it doesn't want to go on so easily. All right, a little bit of wiggling around, and it's going through. Must have had some stuff still on those threads inside the captured nuts. So just going to get this super roughed into place. You see, plenty of wiggle room. Nope, that's a little too much. So I'll bring it down and then back it off a quarter. All right, that's got the room. And on the back side here, let me show you what's going on behind here. I see now why the nuts are like that, because here in the middle, let me find something to point with. Here in the middle, there's this hump. So this plate is now against it. These nuts are taking up the slack of this distance here, and those bolts are coming through. So you see there's not too much excess on those threads, and then that's going to straighten that up. I couldn't think of it until I read the instructions further, but this is for the tether for the back door, because the back door is now going to weigh more. It comes with this kit that goes on later, this cable. So yeah, now onto the bottom one. That's going to be a little bit more fun with one person. Well, it's tricky, but not too bad. I just grabbed a seat. I basically reached underneath with the inner bracket and put it up to get one position in place. So I got that bolt in place to hold the inner bracket. Then what I did is I got this like roughed up so that I could then swing the bracket up with the rust under there. It's a real pain in the neck. Swing the bracket up to get this lined up. Now this is lined up and started to thread. So all I got to do now is pull that one out, hold the inner bracket, swing this up, and then get this side in to get these loosely lined up as well. Well, that definitely worked. That was pretty easy. So yeah, these are in and roughed up loose, just like the top ones now. So next step is mounting the tire carrier to the original door, and then putting that up here and working on the alignment stuff. Currently adding the actual new tire carrier support onto the factory tailgate, and yeah, you reuse the original hardware. They just go in the original bolts. It didn't say anywhere to remove the the bump stops for the tire, but took those off. Obviously had to, they were in the way. Just got to use a deep socket. What is this, 13? Yeah, 13.5 inch to get these factory bolts in. Now the factory bolts, mine were in really nice shape, but they didn't want to stay in the socket that well. So let me show you. You just take a little bit of painter's tape. It's kind of worn in already, but you just make the tolerance on the socket a little bit better than normal, and then that gives something for the head of the bolt to stay on, so it kind of doesn't fall off when you're trying to line this up. Put that down. Now I'm just using the light to see the alignment. You see how the threads down inside there are lined up, and when you wiggle one, it can wiggle the other. So you basically just take your screwdriver and straighten it up, because they're like, both of these holes from the original brackets are tied into each other. Yep, pretty straightforward. So the tire carrier is now up on the brackets. Wasn't too hard to do it by myself. I applied anti-seize per the instructions to the bottom and top of the brass or copper bushings. Can't remember what they were before I put it in, so that's good. It doesn't mention any needing to put anti-seize on the through bolt. Just had to, I ended up loosening up these just a fraction more to make sure there wasn't any binding. I had to kind of wiggle it and slowly open and close the door to get the long bolts to go through. So now it's on there, and now it's a matter of doing the next step, which is getting it to click to the first latch, which I'm going to have to need both hands for that, but that's to get it over to the one side. I'm probably going to snug up, might have to snug up these long bolts again, because you can see this gap here is a little bit too much, so the door is sticking out too far before I get into any alignment adjusting. Well, it's on. A little bit off on this side, but it works well. Closes really tight, tighter than it was before for sure. This side, however, is definitely a little bit higher. I forgot to mention the tape was in the way of that cross brace, so when I was putting that on, I had to peel that blue tape back. So yeah, this side is what's that, 1/8 of an inch or so higher. And there's also a little bit of a gap here, but I know this door was a little bent because this lip here it's a little bit flared out. So it's good enough for me for now, because it closes nice and tight. I got everything torqued down on the outside. Now I got to go through, tighten the 2 Torx bolts there, and that real bastard underneath there, man, that's a real pain in the neck. Basically, I'll get under there and show you in a minute. You got to squeeze your left arm up inside against this edge to reach over to put that supporting bolt down, and then try and get the nut on it. It's very difficult. So up under the corner of the vehicle, that is the supporting bolt and nut that come through from the top. It's very hard for me with my big hands and big arms, but basically you got to go through here, up and down to get the bolt down through and hold it, and then get that nut on there. So it's not fun. But now that the bracket bolts are torqued, that's the last one to do up before finishing the rest of the accessories on the bumper. And running out of daylight here, last day before daylight savings ends. Just trying to figure out this LED light. It's different than the old instructions, and needs a ground on that white wire, so I've got to figure out where to ground that on the vehicle, where it's kind of out of the way. Maybe I can slide it in behind, I don't know. So anyway, I'm going to keep working on this, and then I got to figure out the offset of the spare tire. It's just a stock size spare for now, so probably just mount it low so I get the best visibility, and then it's done. But yeah, I'll probably do another update once I've added some more gear to this and finish up the wiring and get the final result. Next step is installing this tether. So the button head screw and the lock nut go on here, This is intended to stay loose so that it can not rattle. I might have to put a little bit more on that, but so that this can spin. And then you set the door is open to 90 degrees right now. Doesn't look like it from this angle. But then you set the tether straight and you mark the hole where you want it. I marked it a little bit short so that the door doesn't overextend, although it won't really matter on this Jeep. So I'm gonna mark that hole, and then the kit comes with a nutsert tool. So I'm gonna put that in there, another button head cap screw, and then the door stop will basically be engaged. Then I can put this carpet back on. I got the rear light working. This little fixture right here was a little bit bent for some reason, but got that grounded and almost done. All right, got that center punch. Just going to do a little pilot hole. It says to be very careful about going through to the other piece of metal. Definitely need to sharpen my drill bits. Alright, that's taken all day. Just going through this carefully because I don't want to drill too hard, and that drill bit was a bit blunt, but got to go up to 3/8. Almost there. It's pretty thick metal there. I'm surprised. I guess there's a reinforcement in there or something. I don't know what that noise was. Up to 3/8 now. Just got to be really careful because you see how long the drill bit is. I really thought I was done drilling today, making a mess all over this crap all over again. Alright, did not punch through the other side, that's good. Let's see, it's pretty smooth too. So now, yeah, I haven't used this kind of nutsert before. I actually have a nutsert tool, but I'll give this a shot. Alright, so I got the hole drilled. You basically pop, I already started it, sorry, but you pop the nutsert in there so that it's flush. You take this tool, what's it, 9/16 and then a friggin' 7/16, and you're holding you got to hold the tool and then you crank the metal bolt in. What that's doing is basically pulling the guts of that nutsert, squishing it against the inside of the metal of the door. Okay, that feels like it. Let me show you. Whoops, sorry. This is one that hasn't been crushed yet. It's kind of like a stud in a wheel. But yeah, so this all squishes down and this flares out to the size of the metal. It feels like it's in all the way, so now I just loosen it and check it out. Yep. It's nice, it's perfectly flush. These are actually really nice. The other ones I've used have been raised up a little bit. But yeah, now all I got to do is attach that, and yeah, do that right here. The little Allen head. It came with extra hardware that's not needed for this one. So I didn't think about that. That line there is going to hit into the door as well at full. Whoops, at full extension. Make sure that's flat, or as flat as I can have it be. That's good enough. It'll flatten itself out, I'm sure. So let's see now. Oh, it just bottoms out. That's good. That's all I'm going to do tonight, and that's all I need to do because I don't have my full-size spare tire anyway. But yeah, there you go. Got a functional door. Let's have a look how that setup closes. Move some of this junk out of the way real quick. Let's look at this tether and see. Oh, that's real nice. It just winds right out of the way. Hear how solid that is. I never adjusted the latch. It's perfect. I didn't realize it came with a third brake light. I'm happy about that because the Jeep didn't have one. When I got it, this wires were just cut. I grabbed some split loom and put that on there and cleaned it up. And yeah, the next thing is just to mount the spare tire. Everything else is done. It is a new day. I'm at a end point for this video. I'm gonna have to wait and get my gonna go ahead and get a full-size spare. I didn't realize until I pulled off the old tire carrier that that wheel is a different lug pattern than the wheels on the Jeep. They're 5 on 5.5 instead of 5 on 4.5. So, and it probably wouldn't fit anyway, even in an emergency. So I'm going to leave it there. What I've got here is I mounted the mount as low as it can go because I got quite a bit of clearance for a large tire on this this bumper. Got the tail light, the third brake light sitting in there, sandwiched in between the top bolts. I ran the wiring outside, so it comes out from the factory wiring, spliced in and down in behind the bracket there for that third brake light, and everything else is tight. I do need to, I have trimmed, I went ahead and trimmed around this a little bit, just took a razor blade and straight cut right in through there. I want to try and get that a little bit tighter if I can. So I just need to put this cover back on that, and then I am done for now. Thank you for watching.